Well, if Cleveland is Cleveland and Cleveland are winners, A equals B and B equals C, then A must equal C, if my math serves me correct on that. So if Cleveland is Cleveland and Cleveland are winners, that means Cleveland is winners. A Victory Monday edition of the Matt Fontana Show right here on Big Play. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am Matt Fontana. He's producer Ryan, and yes, a Victory Monday. The Browns undefeated since we have begun the show, by the way, on Big Play. Well done for them. Man, do we have a lot to get to recap that. It was a bad football game. Like, to be completely honest with you, it was a bad football game, but I don't care because you beat the hell out of the Cincinnati Bengals yesterday, 24-3. It wasn't pretty at all. You got done what you needed to get done to get a win. Yes, I know Deshaun Watson struggled. Yes, I know Joe Burrow struggled. Sucks about Jack Conklin. We'll talk about all that coming up. But nonetheless, the Cleveland Browns made a statement yesterday to put the Bengals on alert. Not that they needed it, because we own the Bengals. And I'm right. Can we say that real quick, by the way? Can we say it? Is that not a statement of fact at this point that we own the Bengals and Joe Burrow, Ryan?
I think we own them.
We own them. And write that down.
It's so good to get these Kentucky fans out of my mentions because they were being absolutely ludicrous. Ludicrous on Twitter.
And and for the Bengals, they can make all the excuses that they want, that it was a sloppy field and it's just one of 17. Like, that was something Joe Burrow was talking about. And listen, on the whole, outside of the Cincinnati thing, I kind of think I like Joe Burrow. Like, I could see myself rooting for him and all that kind of crap. But he is going to be a thorn in the Browns' side for a long time. And it is obvious and clear that the Browns own him. Like, dude, watching that game, and again, the weather was bad, but we've seen a lot worse here in this town. But you can tell that Myles Garrett is in Joe Burrow's head. That playing in that stadium is in Joe Burrow's head. And that is not something that is meant to be lost, too, when you talk about having one up on your opponents, and especially a team like the Bengals that you think you're going to have to go through for the next however many years. So keep that in your back pocket. And that was honestly the worst game I think Joe Burrow had ever played against Brown. That might be the worst game. I know at one point, well, not at one point, but that was the lowest first half yardage that he had in his entire career, talking about Joe Burrow. And yeah, the Browns had to kind of fight their way through it too. We'll talk a lot about Deshaun Watson this morning. We'll discuss some of the things that I take away. You cannot look back on that game and not just applaud the hire of Jim Schwartz. Like, I didn't know that it would be that quick of a flip of the switch, right? And it was one game. And the excitement today, like, it's going to be unbridled. I'm sorry. As a Browns fan and everybody out there watching and listening, you know how excited you are today. Feel it, own it, and rock the hell out of it, because I'm not going to apologize for how I feel today. This wasn't just you squeaked by in an opener. This wasn't, okay, you beat the Texans. You beat the Cincinnati Bengals at home to start your season, and you kicked their ass. You kicked their ass.
There's absolutely nothing better than a Victory Monday. And in that type of fashion, it makes your week.
Oh, it's the best. I can actually watch Monday Night Football now, Ryan, because they will do the fastest 2 minutes or fastest 3 minutes. And I usually turn it off when the Browns lose because I don't want to see the highlights. But no, I'm good. I can sit down and watch it. And just recapping how it went, like, dude, that defense, Myles Garrett, moving him around, I wasn't even sure what impact that would have, because you hear so much about simple things of like, oh, we're going to move Myles Garrett inside, or we're going to have Obo Okoronkwo start to do these things. And you saw what it was. But even the secondary, for a defense that Jim Schwartz runs through the D-line, man, that secondary is making plays. Denzel Ward all over the field. Grant Delpit had one of the best games that you've seen. And there's good and bad with that, because Grant Delpit needs to get paid. So I hope he plays well, but I hope he doesn't play all that well.
Matt, how awesome was it to see Denzel Ward back, looking like the Warden we've known and loved?
So you talk about a guy that, same thing with Myles Garrett going up against Cincinnati in the offensive line. You tell me that Denzel Ward doesn't have a little bit for Joe Burrow, or doesn't have a little bit for Cincinnati? Like, without a doubt, Denzel Ward, his career, more PBUs than any other team. His only 2 defensive touchdowns are against them, more interceptions against Cincinnati than another team. To see him play that way was great, and especially knowing that we were wondering if he was going to play with the concussion, and to get out there and make the plays they did. Grant Delpit played well. Greg Newsome played well. Rodney McLeod had to come into the starting role. Just everything on that defense was great. And that was a type of game that you needed defensively because of how the weather was going to be and how the offense played. Let's talk about Deshaun Watson for a second. We're going to get into Watson a little bit later, coming about 9:30 on the show. I really want to dive into some of the things with Watson, and I'm actually 9:30. I got a really extremely positive, shocking Browns fan on Victory Monday. I have a really positive take on something I saw with Watson. We'll get to that coming at 9:30. But to Watson, yeah, it was a crappy day. Yeah, you want to make some declarative statement about he can't play in weather and he's going to be in Cleveland. Did you win the football game or not? Did he do enough to win the football game? That one interception, I was about like everybody else. I was going, wait, what? Okay, it got tipped. Okay, back that up for a second. It got tipped. Maybe it wasn't as bad as he thought. Yes, was he missing wide open receivers? Was he maybe overcompensating for the rain? I don't know. I mean, just my take on it of never playing in the NFL at any level, let alone quarterback. Ryan, it felt like he was afraid of throwing the ball high because he didn't want it to sail, and that's how you get things picked off.
It definitely looked like there was a tad off, like he wasn't totally comfortable in the pocket. And obviously that comes with opening day jitters against a division rival, especially in not so great weather. But like you said, I mean, he made plays when we needed them with his legs. And yeah, you would like to see a little bit more from him from his arm and a lot more comfortability. But you know what? That's going to come later in the season, I think, for sure.
It will, and I think there's something to be said about he is going to have to learn how to play in this type of weather. You're not going to get games like this all the time, but I really think he was just trying to guard against turnovers. Because if we know anything about Kevin Stefanski, what does he hate more than anything? Turnovers. And he hates his quarterback throwing interceptions. So with the wide receivers and the missed passes, I kind of take that with a grain of salt just to say I really feel like Watson with the wet ball and trying to just guard against turning the football over. Nick Chubb is very good. He's very good at football. His vision was great. Offensive line-wise, Jed Wills played better as the game went on, thank goodness. It sucks about Jack Conklin preparing like he's going to... I think he tore his ACL. That's just me. When you hear Kevin Stefanski in postgame say the initial test, that tells you that they did that wobble test on the knee, and they know. I mean, which sucks. I do want to get into that a little bit later in the show as well of what that means from a contract restructuring. And, dude, they just gave him this extension. I mean, I feel good about Dwan Jones. I thought he played really well, kind of stepping in. But the offensive, that was a game where you needed to outrush your opponent, which you did. You needed to have an elite running back like you did with Nick Chubb. You ground it out, and you got to win. And I think even the more impressive part of that is you put up 24 points on a pretty crappy afternoon. Like, that's a game where you could watch and think, okay, 10-7 is going to win this game or 10-3 is going to win this game. Browns offense got into a nice little rhythm. Watson using his legs, which is I thought was one thing that I'll say now, and I definitely want to get to it later. That is one thing about Deshaun Watson that we discussed about what he brings to this team. When something's not working, he's got a second option, right? And this isn't a knock on Jacoby Brissett or Baker Mayfield or really, I mean, I'll just say any quarterback, right? When they can't throw, whether it's weather related or whether it's just the defense is playing well, there's nothing wrong with going to option 2, and at least he has an option 2. There's some quarterbacks that don't. And the vast majority of quarterbacks in the NFL don't run like Deshaun Watson or run like Daniel Jones. Holy cow, good God, how bad are they? Oh, that was free money on Tipico last night, by the way, for me. I actually, Tipico bet a big play 150. Get your free bets there at Tipico. Download the app today. Ryan, I took an alternate spread on the Cowboys. Dude, I could have taken them, minus 30.5?
Don't get me started, Matt. Do not get me started.
Do not tell me you bet on the Giants.
Well, no. So
stop listening to Padone.
I'll tell you exactly what happened. I did it before Padone until he switched up. So I was like, oh, perfect. I already wanted to do Giants.
Switch?
I was like, I already want to do Giants. So I was like, okay, fade Padone. It works out perfectly. And then right before kickoff, I saw he tweeted that, and I knew it messed up. And that was the last leg of my parlay. My 3-leg parlay, I call obviously. Okay, the San Francisco one -2. That was easy.
That was free money. And we'll go around the league, by the way.
And then I did Packers money line.
All right. Yeah, okay. All right.
And then the last leg was Giants plus 3.5. It should have been Giants plus 39.
That was bad. We'll go around the league coming up. There was a nice boost on Tipico last night too, by the way, that I didn't catch, but it was close. But anyway, we'll get to that coming up in a little bit. But back to Watson, like, you don't want him running as much as Daniel Jones, or you don't want him running as much as some of these other quarterbacks. But when he has that option, when there is that second part to be able to help him in a game that you just needed to. Yesterday was a war of attrition, and that's not some shot at the Bengals to say that they're a weak team or that they didn't want it. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm more focused on the Browns. I could frankly give a damn about the Bengals, but we got to revisit the Jamar Chase comments coming up. I don't really care about the Bengals, right? But the biggest takeaway that I have from the Browns yesterday was they wanted that win more, and they went out and they got it. Teams of the past would have folded, turned the football over, and they would have lost 24-3. The Cleveland Browns of this year found a way to win the game. And that's where I take a lot of that with a giant grain of salt. It was crappy weather. It was the first game of the year. Watson getting off, getting the rust back off and getting back in there. All of that stuff is true. But you still found a way to win, which is the most impressive thing.
Matt, I want to ask you this.
Yeah.
Give me a grade for the entirety of the linebacker unit.
The linebacking unit. So I did think one of the most interesting parts of the linebackers that I saw yesterday was that Taki and Walker were rotating with the green dot. For those that don't know, the sneezes are going around in the room in here, man. I apologize. It's great video, by the way, of me just sneezing right in the air. But so the Walker and Taki, they were rotating, right? And rotating with what the league is called the green dot. I think most people probably know, but on the back of the helmet, if you have the green dot, that means you have the radio in your head to talk, not talk. You can't talk back to the coach. The coach tells you to play. The quarterback has it on offense. And defensively, it's usually a linebacker or sometimes a safety, somebody who does not ever come off the field. It can't be. Well, that's what it was, Taki and Walker. And they were rotating those guys through, clearly, both of them coming off major injuries, and they needed to be fresh and rotate on through. But to see, I was first off impressed with Taki because I didn't think he was going to be ready for the start of the season. And that one play that he made just scraping down the line, and I think it was Mixon that he got him. The Bengals, they did a lot of that lateral kind of passing crap. The wide receiver screens and getting it out to Mixon. And I think it was probably Burrow didn't want to stand back there and worry about getting hit with Myles Garrett. But also he didn't have a good handle on the football. And he didn't want to have to drop back 3-5 step and get hit, not be able to throw anything. So they tried all this like quick crap. Positions are pretty damn good. They played awesome. They played great. In total, the Browns played great. So we're going to post this as our Twitter question. We'll do this up at Matt Fontana Show. So if you haven't dropped this a follow yet, do it at Matt Fontana Show. I'm at Matt Fontana 83. You can find all our links. We're on iHeart this morning, streaming on our brand new Big Play channel on the iHeart app. Super excited about that. Today is the first show on our actual show channel at Matt Fontana Show on YouTube as well. So follow us all there. But we're going to put this up on Twitter. Did yesterday's game change your outlook on the season? Did yesterday's game change your outlook on the season? Because we all had expectations. We all believed maybe playoffs, double-digit wins. Did yesterday's game, and you could come back with negative. I don't know too many people that are negative this morning, but you could come back and say, it did change. I don't feel as good. Fine. I'd love to hear from you. At Matt Fontana Show on Twitter. We're up on YouTube. We're going to do a better job on the show too, Ryan, because you can live comment on the YouTube channel, right? You can get up there. Maybe we'll get some YouTube comments.
I can indeed.
All right, do that. Pull up. We'll get some of the YouTube comments when we return. We'll get that up on Twitter. Again, at Matt Fontana Show. Drop us a follow there. Did yesterday's game change the outlook for the Browns this season for you? We'll get to that when we return. We got to dive into the Jamar Chase comments because on Friday, I sat right here and I downplayed it. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I guess I was wrong. The first of many on this show. We'll get to that when we return. It's Fontana, Big Play, iHeart app as well. Stay with us. Victory Monday, so sweet. Back here, Fontana, big play. Producer Ryan here as well. Get us on Twitter at Matt Fontana Show. Our Twitter question is out. Did yesterday's performance change your outlook on the season for the Browns? Vote on that. I got a take we'll get to coming up. We're also live on the iHeart app. If you're tuning in this morning, you can download the iHeart app. We have a brand new Big Play channel. Check it out there. And, of course, on YouTube at Matt Fontana Show. So we started for literally, this is our second show, so we appreciate everybody joining us this morning. But on Friday's show, I sat there and I said, because we'd all known about the Jamar Chase comments, and they caught Jamar Chase in the locker room, and this is something that he's like Burrow. He's not going anywhere. And he is, dude, that one first down that he, can I give a little bit to the Bengals just for a quick second? This is going to be the only part of the show, I promise. He had an out route. I think it was 3rd and short. When he caught that football while falling out of bounds and had the body and ball awareness to be able to turn it around the first down, you know the play I'm talking about? I saw that and go, that's why he's elite. Like, he's good. And you don't need me to tell you that Jamar Chase is elite. But he's a lot like Joe Burrow. Like, we're going to have to face these guys for 8 years, the next 10 years. Sucks, but it is what it is. So, to start the week off of the Browns and the Bengals with his comments, infamously talking a little bit about the Browns. Cleveland is Cleveland. Let's
play it, Matt. Let's play it.
I don't really pay attention to it because Cleveland is Cleveland.
Okay, Cleveland is Cleveland. As we started the show, Cleveland is Cleveland, and Cleveland is a winner, so therefore Cleveland is a winner. I didn't read too much into it, right? I really didn't, because I think pregame smack talk is weak. Like, I just do. Like, I don't understand there's guys that talk on the field, or there's smack talk to be had in between the lines. If you ever played a competitive sport, that's what happens. I understand that. The media smack, the played it. I did not think it was that big of a deal. Then, and to be fair to the Browns, when we talked to some of them on Friday, they downplayed it too, because they don't want to throw gas on that fire. They're taught to keep it all internal and just, don't make anything any worse. We beat them, and the Browns social media team is saying stuff. Greg Newsome is saying stuff. And then after the game, Myles Garrett was asked how much of the Jamar Chase comments factored into this game. Myles?
Impact? No. I mean, I guess it gives you a little chip on your shoulder. Some in the back of your mind, but I wouldn't say it had too much of an impact.
Did you talk to Chase about it?
I only saw him once, and that was in passing. So if I saw him after the game, I would have said something about him.
So he said he only saw Joe Burrow. He was literally only that way when he saw. But the funny thing was, I think it did factor in. I did, and that's a shock for me, because it's motivating. Like, dude, you're playing a division rival. It's the first game of the year. But if you need that little bit of extra, or if that's something they're going to not forget about, then take it. That's fine. And that's a learning lesson for, obviously, the Bengals, for Zach Taylor, and for Jamar Chase to maybe not do that kind of stuff. I don't know.
Matt, let me ask you this. How long do you think it takes a player to get back into the locker room post-game and grab their phone?
Oh, well, pretty quick. Right. So here's how it works. As soon as the game ends, they go into their locker room, their respective teams, and they have an NFL mandated 12-minute cooling off period. And that's before the media enters. And in that 12 minutes, usually that's when the coach stands up and hands out a game ball if you won, or says something. But usually these guys sit right down in the locker, and their phone is in their locker, and they'll pull it right up.
Greg Newsome was quick.
Oh, I'm sure he was.
Quick with the Cleveland tweet.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, it was there. It was a factor. And hey, man, we won. So if that's how it needs to go, or if that's what they needed to do to get it done, then so be it. And thank you to Jamar Chase for doing all of that. In the grand scheme, big picture of all of it, yeah, there's a world that this is something that they do carry on forever. And as long as Jamar Chase is playing for the Bengals, and as long as Greg Newsome is here in Cleveland, and Denzel Ward, they're still going to see him. They're always going to be like, hey, man, Cleveland's Cleveland. Is this something that will kind of become this rivalry, become the dream that we've always had, where all of the teams that we want to face, the rivalries, are true in there? Because now, it's crazy to say this, and this is coming from a lifelong Clevelander, right? Where the rivalry between the Bengals and the Steelers and the Ravens are all different for a different reason, right? The Pittsburgh one is more of a traditional, like, I don't want to say borderline respect a little bit, right? Your traditional franchises, they have a lot of Hall of Famers on each side, and it's just the one that we've always had, right? So there's that. Okay. Cincinnati, well, Paul Brown, you're the team in the state. The Browns, of all of the teams that we've taken it to, Cincinnati is the one that we've probably beat the most, all that kind of stuff. And the Ravens one is easy. They stole our team. That's that. So as I sit here and I think about the rivalry, where I have a respect for the Steelers to a degree, I respect that rivalry to my core, and I say this with Michigan being number one. I sports hate the Baltimore Ravens more than any team except Michigan. Like, to my core, I hate the Ravens. I hate them. I just do. And it's different than how I feel about the Steelers and the Bengals. Then I get to the Bengals, and they're just kind of annoying. I don't know why. Like, they're just kind of annoying. And maybe it's because they are the one team that we semi-beat regularly because we just couldn't beat the Steelers or the Ravens. You know, maybe it's because the in-state thing. Maybe it really just comes back to, tell me that they haven't been annoying. Going back to remember the jersey thing that this all off season with the helmets and the jerseys and all that, they come off as super annoying.
And I think, Matt, I think the worst part about it is that it doesn't make sense. When you look at our record against them and our record against Joe Burrow, I get it. You got fire. You want to come at Cleveland. But to me, you have had almost relatively zero success, especially in Cleveland.
And to the point that you're right. Like, we have owned that. So now they're on the other side of it. Where the Browns in this, it's been hard for us as you know, I'm 34, so like the expansion era. We haven't been over on any team. We consistently have not been over on any team. And we are now in an era where we're over on the Bengals. I mean, we got them.
You know what
we got them, and they are so good, Ryan. And we got them.
And you know what the best part about yesterday's dominant victory for me was? The fact that they have to sit there with that sour taste in their mouth until January 7th.
It was funny you mentioned that because you and I are on the same wavelengths with that. Where they pulled Burrow, which they should have, and we probably won't see him again this season because that's week 18. That's the last game of the season. And if all goes well, God, please. We already clinched the AFC North, and we're sitting all our guys, and they're already maybe out of the playoffs. Like, dream scenario, God, please.
And then we'll have Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Dorian Thompson-Robinson will go light him up. Beat Jake Browning or whoever, or their backup from Washington? Shooting from the hip, Jake Browning? Is that who that guy is? Who's that Washington? Oh, Jake Locker. No Jake Locker, I'll tell you that much. No, I mean, there is that world that the playoffs are set and we don't face, or even to your point, like they're going to stew on that forever. And then when the schedule comes out next year, like this is that budding rivalry. Now, what I want is to start getting that with the Steelers. Oh, wait, opportunity come Monday night. Maybe start getting some of that going with the Ravens again. And it all comes back to, and don't forget this, the reason we're here is the Browns are competitive because they have put together a competitive team that are actually able to go against the elites. Now, did Cincinnati look elite yesterday? No, but they still are. Like, they're still elite. Say what you want about whether this or that, and it's hard to go undefeated in the NFL, and everybody's going to lose a game pretty much here and there. I get it, all of it. That's probably what Cincinnati's trying to tell themselves this morning. But the Browns are still a competitive team that can stand up to the elite. You're not always going to win. You're not always going to win those games. But I said this on Friday, too, about the game yesterday. Part of me, all I wanted to see was them compete, let alone beat them up, and they did. But the fact that they competed, and in a game where the competitiveness really was the thing that pushed you over the edge. That was the game that was, you weren't in a dome, you weren't in perfect conditions. You needed that little competitive edge. And if it came via Jamar Chase, then great. And I just wonder what Zach Taylor wakes up this morning with his message to his team. Because there's a fine line. You can't be that coach that sits there and tells his guys to shut up and don't say stuff like that. But also, when the Browns are making mention of it, it was clear that it was something. So I thank Jamar Chase for that in a little bit. Twitter question is up at ESPN. I'm sorry, I'm going to do that 1,000 times. It was 13 years. It was a long time. I love everybody over there. I do.
Now you know how Shannon Sharp felt when he called
I know.
Stephen
I need a giant sign. It's up at Matt Fontana Show on our YouTube page as well. Did yesterday's dominant performance change your outlook on the season? Yes or no? Ryan and I are going to vote on that when we return. I want to get some YouTube comments in as well. We got some people in the Twitter inboxes, and we'll get to those coming up. We do got to talk about the negative, and that's Jack Conklin. That sucks, man. That sucks. And I say that to say this. We got to be real. We're going to be as cold-hearted as we can be about it, knowing that we all love Jack. He's a great player. He's a good dude. We got to have a real conversation about a mistake I think that was made. We'll get to that coming up. Fontana Big Play, iHeart app. Get us on the YouTube page. Get us at Matt Fontana Show on Twitter. We'll discuss all that. Stay with us. Back here, Fontana Big Play, first day on the iHeart app. Get that checked out. Apparently, you can hear us in breaks. Hot mics. I appreciate the tweets. It's our second show. Like, I first off, I didn't do this to start the show, and I should have. Like, I appreciate the hell out of you, whoever you are watching, listening out there. We had such an amazing open to this show on Friday. The love has been fantastic. The support has been outstanding. And if you spend 2 minutes with us in the morning, thank you. Like, that's it. So I appreciate everybody out there that's with us this morning, that are letting us know some of our tech issues that we're getting worked out. Don't get me wrong. Here in the second show, but we'll get it all figured out. There's bigger issues with Cincinnati, I think, because they didn't play well. And I do think there are some issues with the Cleveland Browns. And I want to get to those in a little bit. We'll talk Jack Conklin, unfortunately, with the injury as well. Back here, Fontana Show, Big Play, iHeart app, YouTube, Matt Fontana Show, and we're up on Twitter as well. And that's where I want to head, Ryan, because our Twitter question is up, at Matt Fontana Show. Did yesterday's game change your opinion or change your outlook on the season? Right now, we're sitting about 65-35 people said yes. Meg's tweets. I feel better than I did last year after the Carolina game, but it's only week 1, and we always play well against Cincinnati. Josh tweets. I'm going to bump him up a win. 11-6. I was at 10-7, so he's got one more win for the Browns. And I think no matter what your record was, which I'm right there with Josh. I had him around 11-6, 10-7, things like that. But to actually answer our Twitter question, Ryan, it does not change my outlook on this season. It doesn't. Because I had high expectations. I'm a realist in understanding that game was... Is it a true indication of what the Browns are going to do? I hope so. I hope the defense plays well. I hope the offense gets better. But yeah, I don't want to put the cart before the horse. I think this is an amazing step off for the season. But if we know anything about how the NFL rolls, and I hate playing that crappy, like, oh, the Browns card and Cleveland. Well, we've seen some stuff. We know how fast it can go. So that's where I'm not going to put too much into it. I was happy with what I saw, but it doesn't change my outlook. I still think the Browns are going to do something that they've never done before, win the AFC North this year. They're going to get to 10, 11 wins, and they're going to go to the playoffs. Yesterday was just a reassurance of how I feel about that. So I'm going to say it actually did not change my outlook. What about you?
I'm going to say it did, and take that with a grain of salt. So earlier, before week 1, I think I projected them at 9 wins, and... That wasn't what we saw yesterday. Was not a 9-win team. It was a double digit at least. And
I thought you were gonna do it the other way.
No.
Talking about the offense. I will again. Well, we'll talk Watson. Well, we're gonna talk Watson.
I have faith that'll get fixed up.
I hope so.
But
I do.
I knew Jim Schwartz was gonna come in here and scheme some things up, open up Miles and Za'Darius in ways we haven't seen, and he did. I didn't think it was gonna be that well executed. And so that being said, I think the offense can get fixed. So for me, it definitely bumped up at least another win in my opinion. At least that should happen.
Yeah, and I get it, and there's reason to be excited about it and the optimism. Let's talk to Deshaun Watson for a second. So Watson gets done yesterday, and understanding that his biggest impact was probably with his legs. He did finish 16 out of 29, 154 yards, touchdown, interception, was sacked 3 times, but the impact was on the ground, 5 carries, 45 yards, and 1 touchdown. The impact also goes to Kevin Stefanski, because it was clear that there was a point that you saw that shift in, we're not going to be able to throw the football, let's find a different way to get it done. That run call that Watson did say was, when he ran that touchdown, and it was a pass play, and he just kind of took it and went in, okay, fine. Then you saw the shift with 18 carries for Nick Chubb, dude. He averaged 6 yards a carry.
He is an animal, the Batman.
His vision is so impressive. This zone scheme the Browns run, I love it. I love watching him run. But that's kind of my thing on Watson. When in a game that you weren't going to be able to throw, and you could tell that there was the adjustments, guys were getting open. Let's not lose that fact, by the way, either. Guys were getting open, so that's good. And the ball, whatever. They found, he was still impactful for his legs. And we've had the pocket. I'm talking about guys that actually can run, like Deshaun Watson. And run when you need to, not Daniel Jones running all around, getting hit, not Josh Allen, all that kind of stuff. I'm talking about guys that can run when they need to. That is where you built in a default, or you built in an extra layer of security to say, when this isn't going well, we'll run to this, or we'll do this. The best thing I saw with Watson, and if you rewatch the game, half of those runs, his eyes were still down the field. Like, he was still looking to complete passes down the field, and he took off when he needed to. That is the rust. Like, of all the things that people talk about with the rust with Deshaun Watson, which clearly yesterday was a big step forward to say, hey, here's inclement weather. This isn't a perfect scenario. Go out there and find a way to get a win. That is how you knock rust off. That is the rust I've always talked about with him, Ryan, is not, hey, can I hit this guy in stride? Yeah, there's some of that. The rust that needed to be knocked off was pocket awareness, pocket presence, and knowing when to get rid of the football, how to move. Like that, like the feel of the pocket is what he needed to get back. And yesterday was a great game for that, because I saw him be able to take off when he needed to.
Right. And his athleticism is always going to be there. He's a freak with his legs. But when you haven't played football go back to last year, he had, what did he play last year? 6?
6.
Right.
Those games are, especially now, it's just,
and it's like this season. It's like last game yesterday was truly the first real new scheme comfortability that we've been able to see from Deshaun.
Do you view yesterday as the real debut of Deshaun Watson?
For my mental sake, yeah, I will say that's his
throw
debut.
that up at Matt Fontana's show. Throw that
that's
up.
That is a very good question.
Do you view yesterday as the true debut of Deshaun Watson? Yes or no? Up at Matt Fontana's show. Drop us a follow there. Yeah, I kind of do. And as far as the 6 games, it just got to this point. Like those 6 games last year and what they were able to do in the offseason, frankly, none of that mattered to me anymore. It was all about yesterday. And now you've got to yesterday. Watson said after the game, we're going to celebrate this. We're going to flush it. We're moving on. That's it. Like, that's it. We're moving forward. So that is something that I look at and say, whatever happened in the past, you learn from it. But yesterday was also a game that they learned a lot about and a lot from on what they need to do. And you just kind of move. Like I think it was the debut. I really think we got the debut of Deshaun Watson yesterday.
Well, the poll is up, so let's go see those votes.
At Matt Fontana Show on Twitter. Go check it out right there. One of the bad things yesterday, and we're going to do a new segment we're going to do every Monday. It's called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Obviously, a great flick. We can't play the theme here, unfortunately. But we're going to do The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly coming up next. One of the bads is Jack Conklin. When you have a coach after the game and Kevin Stefanski saying the initial test didn't look good, this is just me. He tore his ACL. Like, there's no way. I don't think he didn't. The way it looked when he got rolled up on, and also a guy that had done it before, the look that he had on the cart, he knew what happened. And I'm gutted. What was the one question that we all had when they signed Jack Conklin? Is he going to stay healthy? And this sucks because I like Jack Conklin, and he's a damn good player when he's healthy. He's 29 years old. It sounds like this season is over based on the initial test to get the MRI. And now we need to understand that there's probably a world that he doesn't play football for the Cleveland Browns moving forward. So this season, base salary, guaranteed salary, cap number, you're talking about he's on the hook for dead cap this year of $13 million. You're not getting rid of him this year. Like, he's going to sit on IR. You're going to pay him his money. Now, moving forward, over the next 5 years, because when you talk about the Browns restructuring deals, I think most people understand. We'll get Jack Duffin on this show. I'd love to talk to Jack. He works for OBR. He's a capologist. People think it's Andrew Barry's burner account, by the way. That's how good he is with the cap. We'll get him on. I'd love to talk to him about it. But anyway, when they restructure, really what they're doing is they're taking this giant wad of cash that is owed to this player, and they're piecing it out over the years. You like my visual? Just piecing it out. You take this giant piece, and then just over the years, you spread it out, knowing that the salary cap is going to continue to jump in the NFL. You don't ever get away from that money. I think people get a misconception, like, oh, they restructured. You still have to pay that money at some point, but you are kicking the can down the road. You are hoping that, again, you're in a better cap situation or the money keeps going up, all that kind of stuff. So with Jack Conklin's deal, after this season, because this season they're just going to put him on IR and he'll play it out. He has a dead cap number of $13 million next year, 4.5, 4.5, 4, 1.5. So you add it up over the next 5 years, and just off of quick math, well over 20. You're looking at like pretty much almost $25 million in dead cap that you are going to have to eat at some point. And that, by the way, is with a post-June 1 designation. You cut him before June 1st, you're looking at over $40 million dead cap. They'll do post-June 1.
That's a lot of money, Matt.
I hate saying this. What a mistake. What a mistake. And that sucks because he is a damn good player and he got rolled up on. What are you supposed to do? Look, this isn't something that was a non-contact injury. And I hope you can understand how painful, like, this sucks. We are being cold-hearted son of a guns right now. That was a mistake and they need to get out of this contract. And especially with how DeJuan Jones played. Trust me, we will get to him. He's going to be on the good side of things for good, bad, and the ugly coming up next. DeJuan Jones played great. You drafted him probably as the heir apparent. And that was the interesting thing about signing Conklin to the deal like they did, where, like, then they draft DeJuan Jones and you go, okay, well, shouldn't you just maybe gone with DeJuan? I don't know. They saw Jack Conklin. They saw something on him. He stayed healthy. And I guess there is a world that they bring him back next year and they say, dude, you're on the hook for $13 million. His cap number next year is $12.96 million. And that is dead cap, by the way, post June 1 if they release him. They could bring him back and say, dude, you're just going to have to play. And just hope that this doesn't happen again. Then you also factor in the deal of what's up with Jed Wills, where they picked up his fifth-year option. Wills is such a polarizing figure because, yeah, you could do a lot worse than him. You do a lot better, too. And where's your money being allocated? Knowing that there's a world that Wyatt Teller's not here anymore either. That Joel Bitonio was closer to retirement than not. And what used to be the no-question strength of this team could have 4 new guys starting for it after next season. And that's the NFL. That's the NFL. Free agency, injuries, retirement, all that kind of stuff. You got to deal with it. And that's even more of a reason of why the Browns have got to go now. You got to go now. You built this team up where you have all this collection of guys, some on cheaper deals than others, and some guys are well paid. They shelled out a lot of money. You better go now. Because just strictly talking about that offensive line, it's changing. It is changing. And now you factor in that you probably will be without Jack Conklin for the year. And it was a nice game for DeJuan Jones, and I expect even better improvement for him throughout the year. But it just sucks, man. I hate that so much. Like, when I saw that was the first thing I thought, I was like, dude, rotten luck. It is what it is, but it's also something that just being a strict numbers, right? Could you really have been that shocked? It's just crazy. Like, we all know those players. They just, somehow they attract injury. They just do. And I don't know. That's a tough one for Andrew Berry to swallow. And people, I like AB as much as the next person. He's done a great job building this team. He's not been perfect. He's made some mistakes here and there, and you question this and that, fine. That's one that I unfortunately think we might look back on and have some questions about. All right, we're going to do good, bad, and the ugly when we return. Pretty simple. There were some things that were really good. There were some things that were bad and some things that were definitely ugly. We'll do that. We're also going to go around the league coming up at 10 o'clock. Get us on Twitter, at Matt Fontana Show. Our Twitter questions are up. Both of them, by the way. First one up, did yesterday's performance change your opinion for the season? And did you view yesterday's game as Deshaun Watson's true debut for the Browns? That's all up at Matt Fontana Show. We're on iHeart, on the app, streaming on the Big Play Network. We're on Big Play Radio. And also check us out on YouTube at Matt Fontana Show. We'll get our bets in coming up, too, with Tipico. Use Big Play 150 as your code. We'll get our wagers in for Monday. We'll recap the weekend as well coming up at 10. But when we return, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right here on Big Play. right, it's time for a debut edition of The Good, The Bad, and The Ugly. I can't play it. Where. Is that good? Can we do that? I can't play the song.
That's
okay.
That works.
I thought about getting a giant cowboy hat, too, while I do this. But nonetheless, if you haven't seen Good, The Bad... Ryan, have you seen The Good, The Bad, and The Ugly?
I have not, but trust me, I know about it. It is one that I have not seen as yet.
Add that to the list. It's a long one. I think it's like a 3-hour flick, but it's a good one. We'll do this every Monday as we recap specifically the Browns. I will throw some Ohio State in from time to time. Youngstown State, plus points. Tipico, yes. Big play 150, Tipico. Good, the bad, and the ugly. We'll stick to the Browns on this one. We start with the good. Obviously, the defense, dude. They were flying around. I think even in the secondary was very impressive. But the D-line that you talked about with Jim Schwartz that we have discussed so much, they're flying around, they're making plays. Moving Myles Garrett to the inside, it seems so trivial, yet it's so impactful. And it's funny because the Bengals offensive line, they're not the best in the league, but they spent a lot of money. They bring in Orlando Brown Jr., they moved Jonah Williams over. They're not, they're good. They're not great, but they're good. And the Browns dominate. Dalvin Tomlinson making plays, Obo Okoronkwo, Zadarius Smith. They have the guys. They have the guys. And really, frankly, I don't think Shelby Harris had that big of an impact. And we forget that he's here still getting used to things. But really, the names you brought in, Obo Okoronkwo got a sack, Dalvin Tomlinson had a big at TFL, and Zadarius Smith was all over the place, yes, on top of Myles Garrett. So the good for me starting, obviously, is the defense, specifically with that defensive line, I thought was just fantastic. That was awesome. The good for me, Grant Delpit. It's good and bad because Grant Delpit, in my opinion, is on his way to getting a pretty big contract in the safety market. You see some of the other guys that have moved around. Jesse Bates had 2 interceptions for the Falcons yesterday after a big signing down there. Safety has become kind of, I think, one of those positions it's I don't say marquee. It's not corner. It's not pass rusher. But you can get overpaid in the safety market. And I hope Grant Delpit plays well this year, and I hope there's a spot for him on this team moving forward just because as you start counting dollars, we'll see. But I'm always a big Grant Delpit fan. I thought he played really well. Nick Chubb and his vision yesterday, phenomenal. The cutback lanes on that zone blocking, we see it. It's so good. Do not take that for granted. That is how good Nick Chubb really is. And in a game where you needed that to a sloppy, crappy kind of game, 106 yards on 6 yards per carry. Didn't get in the end zone, but still, Nick Chubb was one of the biggest reasons the Browns won that football game yesterday. To take the load off of Watson a little bit, but also to just extend drives out, to be able to control the clock a little bit. Nick Chubb was phenomenal. Jim Schwartz. Does he want flowers or beer? I'll hand him whatever the hell he wants. We got some Labatt Blue here in the studio. I will hand Jim Schwartz whatever he wants because he deserved it after yesterday.
He's him, Schwartz.
And tell me he didn't wake up this morning feeling pretty good about things. It was, I got to be honest with everybody. There was a little point of not nervousness. It's the Cleveland in me where I go, is this guy really all he's cracked up to be?
How cool is it to come in to an organization, turn around a defense week 1, give fans a ton of hope, and get the first game ball of the season?
I didn't want to put too much on that, Ryan, to be just get him in here and he'll be good. That's pretty much what it was. He came in here, and granted, it's one game, I get it. And there's dirt to be thrown on the grave of Joe Woods, and trust me, I had those conversations with people. Just see, it's a different defense. Okay, there's different players here, but you see the simplicity of it, and that's one of the biggest things with Jim Schwartz. What did he say? We're not going to play complex defense. Why? We have good players. Go out there and win the rep. Go out there and be better than your opponent. You should be able to do that with the majority of guys on this defense. Did that, Jim Schwartz. Thank you very much. Dustin Hopkins. I forgot what it was like to not be nervous if a field goal was going to go through. I'm not saying he's going to be perfect. He's going to miss a kick. But the fact that I didn't have to have a heart attack every time that I see, honestly, it's the time where, where Corey Borkaz gets down, he always goes like this. He rubs his hands so he can get ready to hold the snap. That usually would give me anxiety because I'd watch it as a Browns fan and go, oh, God. Here we go again. Dustin Hopkins, thank goodness. Again, Cade York needed to be moved on, but good on Hopkins for that. DeJuan Jones. You didn't hear about him, which is the big thing. And you didn't want it to happen the way that it did, because obviously an ugly part of yesterday was Jack Conklin's injury. We'll get to that. But you put DeJuan Jones into this situation. You thankfully had the depth. You still have James Hudson, that if things really go bad with DeJuan Jones, you can still plug James Hudson back in there. He played a lot of good backup reps over the last couple of years for the Browns. But I'm excited to see DeJuan Jones have this little piece of it, because I believe that there is even another element to what DeJuan Jones could bring to this offensive line. You don't find guys like him at 6'7", 360 or whatever he is very often. I would imagine that there's some good and bad to that, where, is he as limber, is he as mobile as you need to, maybe not. But the positive side could be, and this is something that I tried to watch a little bit when he got into the game, but I think it's something I'm going to watch a little bit more moving forward. On 3rd and 1, when they go forward on 4th and 2, if you don't run behind DeJuan Jones, then what are we doing here, right? So you talk about the positives of him being in there. He's got to bring some sort of element to that, where I don't think he's getting pushed off the line very often by very many people. So in short yardage situations, he should be the place to go. One game, he played well. Again, it sucks that he's got to be in there and probably in there to start the rest of the season, but the growth there is going to be good. I thought DeJuan Jones played well yesterday. The bad, Deshaun Watson. Do you want to blame the weather for that? Okay, fine. If you want to get alarmed about the weather and you want to sit there and be like, he might have to play in this again, like we don't play in a dome, sure. I'm not quite there. I put it under the bad because I think he can get better and improve. I think there's something that he had a giant learning curve yesterday about how to play in that. It was obvious he didn't want to turn the football over, and that's why some of those passes were just bad. They just missed. And he'd rather do what? Throw it in the ground than airmail it and have it get picked off. And what did he do? Well, he threw it in the ground a couple of times. I don't want to take away from the feel that he had and the running, but that was definitely a part of the bad yesterday that I was really not there. Minor bad, David Bell on a drop. He was a fringe roster guy for me anyway. It is what it is. The bad, this could be a positive, but I kind of file it under bad. I want more Elijah Moore in the backfield. Like, it took us, I think, until the second or third quarter to finally see one of those plays. And you're not going to see that all that much, but still, I need to see more of it. Bad. Amari Cooper, 3 for 37. Just chalk up the offense as bad. It just wasn't good outside of Nick Chubb, and you got to get better. The ugly, very clearly Jack Conklin's injury. And I haven't seen any updates yet this morning, Ryan, on where it is. The biggest thing is that after the game, Coach Stefanski said the initial tests show that it's a significant injury. They're guarding against. They're going to wait for the MRI and probably tell you that he has something seriously torn. He's probably going to miss the season. And there's going to be a lot of questions surrounding that. Oh, Jed Wills, man. I just don't know. And I feel like this is just going to be pulling teeth from week to week about what Jed Wills is or what he isn't. Is he a franchise left tackle? Probably not. Can you do worse? Yeah. Can you do better? Yeah. Is he going to be your starting left tackle for the rest of the season, barring injury? Yeah. Like, I don't have much to say on it just because it is what it is. Nothing I can do about it. And you want to scream about they should have made this move in the offseason or they should have. The bet is made and we're laying in it. Like, it's Jed Wills. And I say that to say I thought he got better as the game went on. That I think there's obviously is a very important year for him, a motivating year, because if he wants to get paid after that 5th-year option, this is the year to put some good tape out there. Don't think he's off to a great start, but okay, fine. And he is a good tackle. He's not great, but he's good. The problem is, as I continue to watch, is the bull rush. Every DN, the book is out. If I can see that sitting in my recliner at my house, as I did all of preseason and watching the game yesterday, I'm assuming Lou Anarumo, the defensive coordinator for the Bengals, and the defensive coordinator for the who's the legendary Steelers defensive coordinator for a long time? Terrell Austin. Oh, Terrell Austin is there. But oh my God, who was the the legend guy. Dick LeBeau. I'm a dumbass. Dick LeBeau. As Terrell Austin is sitting there, not Dick LeBeau, it's pretty apparent to tell TJ Watt, bull rush him, because he can't stand up to it. And Bill Callahan's going to probably work a way to try to fix that. That's something where you're just talking about a weight, footwork type thing, strength, I guess. I don't know. I file Jed Wills under the ugly part of it because I'm critical. I've been critical of him, and nothing yesterday stopped me from being critical of Jed Wills.
I'm going to invent us a time machine, Matt. We're going to go back, get into the Browns organization, and we're going to go draft Tristan Wirfs.
Well, Tristan Wirfs, and Andrew Thomas wasn't there. Like the Giants took him, but watching Monday Night Football, they brought him up. Andrew Thomas is already an All-Pro. And Wirfs, you had the same thing with Wills. They're flipping spots. Like they flipped him over to the right side. Could you play like? Yeah, because that's another thing is coming up. And I'm not trying to take away from yesterday as a great win and where the Browns are at. But there is a list of things. There's a list of things that are about come due for the Cleveland Browns of what you're going to need and just things that are going to turn over, new positions, all that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, I think left tackle is really going to be on it. Great job by the fans. I think they deserve a mention about how well they showed up and showed out yesterday. So well done on their part. Great stuff on good, bad, and the ugly. We're going to go around the league when we return. We're going to go through every single game. Fourth on Twitter. Are you a quarterback guru, Matt? Because I was talking, he meant he or she, I don't know who actually is on Twitter. I mentioned that Watson not playing well. He didn't play well. He didn't. I don't need to be a quarterback guru to watch that. Again, it was bad situation. It was.
How dare you have a take on that, Matt?
Quincy Avery sitting right here. Quincy Avery is a quarterback guru. He's Deshaun Watson's quarterback coach. But I digress. No, I'm a realist is what I am. A quarterback guru realist right here. Matt Fontana talking about Deshaun Watson. He can play better. He'd tell you that. He did say that. We're moving on. We're going to move on. We're going to go around the league, look back on the weekend, some important games, some fun games, and some butt whoopings. We'll get to that coming up around the league. Matt Fontana right here. Big Play Cleveland. We're on Big Play. Well, we'll talk about that later. We got something big coming with Big Play. The app, right? Is that launching this week? I think it is. I don't know. I'm going to put all the pressure on everybody to get that done. We're on iHeart page, Matt Fontana, and then, of course, on Twitter as well, Matt Fontana Show. We'll get to that coming up. Around the League comes your way next. Stay with us. little different on the morning update today because we'll go around the league every Monday. I'm getting ripped in the Twitter inbox. Dick LeBeau. Okay, yeah, fine. Okay, he's the Steelers coach. What do you want? Hall of Famer. Sorry, that guy, Dick LeBeau. That guy. My bad. Welcome back. Fontana, big play. At Matt Fontana Show on Twitter. Check us out on YouTube. iHeart app as well. Around the league. Got a lot of games, some fun games, some not so fun games. We'll do our wager for Monday Night Football at the end of the show on that, by the way. Because I'm riding high right now. Feeling pretty good, Ryan. We had made some good picks. Let's get to it around the league. Take it away.
All righty. We'll start with another AFC North team here. Baltimore beat the Texans 25-9 to shatter C.J. Stroud's NFL debut. Lamar Jackson, bit of struggle, 17 for 22, 169 yards and 1 pick. But the true story is the unfortunate news of Ohio State alumni. J.K. Dobbins tears his Achilles. This is the second time in 3 years that Dobbins will miss an entire season. He's a free agent in March, but has missed a whopping 43 of 67 career games.
You know, we talked about guys that just unfortunately get hurt, and I feel bad for J.K. Dobbins. I really do. Because that was something that, like, Baltimore, they were really excited to see what he would be in this offense with Lamar Jackson. Now you turn it over to Justice Hill. They still have Gus Edwards, and they're big fans of Gus Edwards there. Okay, yeah, they beat the Texans. Wow. Like, they suck. Like, I'm sorry. And, you know, this year is going to be all about C.J. Stroud. You know, he threw the football 44 times in that game. And give credit, I guess, to D'Amico Ryans. I don't know who's calling plays down there. But I would do that, like, in this season. And I think there is an element of protecting a rookie quarterback. I want to get to what, you know, Trevor Lawrence said to Anthony Richardson. We'll get to that coming up. But there is some element of, like, let these guys sling it around. Because this year really doesn't matter very much. Yeah, you might be able to try to catch lightning in a bottle. This year for the Houston Texans, their only number one goal is to keep C.J. Stroud healthy and let him learn. If you are going to start a quarterback, which is a giant debate of sitting him versus starting him and all that kind of stuff. But if you are going to play him, yeah, let him throw it 44 times. Let him get it figured out. He didn't throw any interceptions. He gets sacked 5 times, but they're not good. They really aren't. Like, they don't have I like Dameon Pierce, but they don't have any real playmakers on that team.
How about the potential maybe they tank the potential Marvin Harrison and C.J. Stroud reunion?
Okay, I'd listen to that. I really would. They obviously have some ammo too with some draft picks that they've picked up here and there, but yeah, I mean, I would say so. Like Nico Collins ain't gonna get it done. Will Anderson did have a sack in that game. I watched a little bit here and there. Mostly, not gonna lie, I wanted to see a little Odell Beckham. 2 catches, nothing crazy. He did the Ray Lewis intro in Baltimore. Can we just? It's so cliche. It's so bad. I know we hate Ray Lewis in this town. We all do. But like, is that like a requirement? Is that crab cakes football and the Ray Lewis intro when you go to Baltimore? Is that how that works? Do you have to do that? Like, come on, no. I didn't want to see. He didn't do very much. Ravens beat up on a bad football team. Congratulations. Take your win and move on.
Alrighty, next. How about this, Matt? Are you happy for Baker? Tampa Bay 1-0 beats probably the most overrated team last year in the Minnesota Vikings. 21 for 34, 173 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
I am a little happy for him. Like, good for him. Doesn't really impact us. The Vikings I picked them to win the NFC North. I really thought that this was like a sleeping giant type team. And then I got to remember, it's Kirk Cousins, okay? Dude, what is up with Minnesota? Kevin O'Connell's about to be out of a job, by the way, up there. Yeah, okay, you threw the ball all the livelong day to Justin Jefferson. He's very good, but that was kind of the question of who else. And you got rid of Adam Thielen. I like Jordan Addison out of USC as their draft pick. You don't have Dalvin Cook anymore. I don't know, man. And the Buccaneers are a team that should be in the tank. They should be trying to get a quarterback in there. They got a pretty built team outside of it. Mike Evans drama aside. Yeah, man, I don't like Alexander Mattison had 11 carries in that game for Minnesota. Yeah, they're just going to throw the ball all day. That's just kind of what they do.
That last touchdown, the pass for Alexander Mattison, kind of saved his day because he was not efficient at all. No. You know what? This was the most running backs week 1 I remember that I was watching that were just wildly inefficient.
Oh, Barkley. I mean, they're rotating up there in New England, but
Rashad White.
Yeah.
He was horrible.
Yeah, right. 39 yards there for the Buccaneers. I will, to your initial point, I was a little happy for Baker. Good for him. Well done. And I did not see that game coming. I really didn't.
Do you think, I was talking about this with Chico on his show when I produced, do you think that Baker Mayfield will help continue Mike Evans' streak of 1,000-yard seasons? Or do you think he'll be the reason that it ends?
No, I mean, the thing is, who else are they going to throw to? So, in that scenario where, okay, I'm going to make his comparison. This is going to get clipped, and I don't mean this to get clipped. It's what Johnny Manziel did with Mike Evans in college. Just throw him up the football. And in no way am I comparing Baker Mayfield to Johnny Manziel. Can I get that clear on the record? I am not comparing Baker Mayfield to Johnny Manziel. But that's what Mike Evans can do. Just throw him the football. Chris Godwin is still there too. But yeah, if I'm Baker and I'm dropping back, just find the big 6'4" guy. And Mike Evans wants to put up just gaudy-ass numbers this year with this contract dispute going on. It's a perfect scenario. And if you're Todd Bowles, light it up. Go ahead. Every time you drop back, just throw for Mike Evans. That's what I do. So, yeah, I think he can I think they'll get 1,000 yards.
Alrighty, the New Orleans Saints just edged the Tennessee Titans in Derek Carr's New Orleans debut. Ryan Tannehill struggled with 3 picks, Derrick Henry 15 carries, 63 yards, and D-Hop 7 receptions in his Titans debut.
Why they brought Ryan Tannehill back, and I guess because they don't have a better option. Will Levis got hurt. They're not big believers in Malik Willis. But Ryan Tannehill is not good. And I don't know how he keeps getting jobs. Like the one year they went to the playoffs. You want to know why they went to the playoffs? Because they have Derrick Henry. And now teams are understanding, we'll just try to do what we can to stop Derrick Henry. You flip it over for New Orleans. One of my watches of the year, so to speak, or one of the guys that I'm really looking at, I think Michael Thomas might be able to turn to form. Now, he only had 5 catches for 61 yards. Olave is still a beast. But he's something I'm really going to keep my eye on to see if he can get back there. They still don't have Alvin Kamara. Those are 2 bad football teams. I don't think Derek Carr is very good. The Saints will win the NFC South just because somebody has to, and the rest of those teams really stink. But the Titans suck, and they were a team that people, when I crowning Jacksonville in the AFC, so I really forget about Tennessee. No, you can forget about Tennessee. You can forget about Tennessee. They honestly should just trade away Derrick Henry, get him the hell out of there because they're not going to do anything with them, and they're staring down the barrel of a rebuild as it goes. Might as well trade Henry away now while you can.
Alrighty, another interesting game here. Carolina and Atlanta. The NFL debuts for both Bryce Young and Bijan Robinson. An interesting note, Tyler Algier led the Falcons with 15 carries, but Bijan did get in the end zone on a very impressive 11-yard reception.
It was. I think Bijan Robinson is going to be very good. Could the Falcons be a team that makes a little noise here with a 2-headed monster? Because it's easy to say, he drafted Bijan Robinson. Tyler Algier is pretty good. Just ask the Browns.
2 touchdowns for him on the day and 75 yards.
Right, ran all over us last year. And Desmond Ridder
only threw the ball 18 times. Completed 15 of those passes.
I thought Drake London was going to be good. I don't think he is. And I just don't know if they're actually going to know what to do with Kyle Pitts. Big year for Arthur Smith down there, too, to try to keep his job. Dude, run the football. Just do that. Just give it to Algier and Robinson. You got to throw when you can, but they're going to run the football a lot. I think a pretty standard, starting debut there for Bryce Young. I will say, watching some of that game, the height, I can't not stare at Bryce Young and go, wow, is he small? And I'm sure, I guess he's going to try to, I shouldn't say, I guess he's going to overcome it. He's, he was the first overall pick for a reason, but good luck. 2 picks, it is what it is. I can't not watch him play and just stare at how small he is.
All right, into the AFC South now. Jacksonville comes back in the fourth quarter and defeats the Colts 31-21. Calvin Ridley returns to football and looks as advertised. Anthony Richardson with a solid debut, 1 pick, 1 touchdown, but on his legs, he looked electric.
Well, and that's after the game. Trevor Lawrence grabbed him and he said, dude, can I give you a piece of advice here? Get down, get out of bounds, because these hits start to add up. And people brought that up as like, that was a really nice thing for Trevor Lawrence to do. This is the guy you're going to compete against in your division for years. And he was more of giving that of a younger guy that needed a piece of advice. There's a brotherhood, obviously, to playing in the NFL, but specifically by position. So these guys are both quarterbacks. I think he's going to have to learn that, and I think he will. Same thing. I like Michael Pittman as much as the next guy, but you see what that offense is just lacking, and it's Jonathan Taylor. I was shocked. That game really spoke to me as just the Jags not taking the Colts seriously. A little hangover for the Jags, and they made it to the second round of the playoffs, right? They had that massive upset over the Chargers. But everybody's picking them. Everybody is picking Trevor Lawrence to win MVP. Find me somebody who hasn't. It's not even a hot take anymore that people go, Trevor Lawrence can win the MVP. Everybody is freaking saying that. I think they were smelling themselves just a little bit. They kind of let the Colts sneak up on them just a hair, and they were still the better team and got a win. I think that was a nice little wake-up call for Jacksonville. They're still going to win that division, though.
Well, the Cowboys-Giants game made this look even a little bit close, even though it really was a dominant performance. San Francisco beats Pittsburgh 30-7.
Oh,
That's not Heinz Field anymore, actually. I take that back.
Acusure
Stadium.
Ryan.
Brandon Ayuk looked
former
incredible.
home of Dick LeBeau.
I'm going to get flamed on Twitter. Brandon Ayuk looked very awesome.
That's because Steelers fans are so depressed this morning that they're just sitting there.
I called it Heinz Field.
No, who cares? Screw them.
Christian McCaffrey looked dominant again. Brock Purdy proved early that maybe last year wasn't a fluke, Mr. Irrelevant.
Purdy, it goes back to Kyle Shanahan being a wizard that he is. He's taken Brock freaking Purdy and turning him into a franchise quarterback, which is absolutely insane. Kenny Pickett, not quite everybody thought he was going to be, putting that cart before the horse. Oh, Kenny Pickett this, Kenny Pickett that. He's sacked 5 times. I think the Steelers will wake up a little bit. I don't understand. Tipico, thank you. Dude, we had a boost.
I don't know who made the lines in Vegas and whatnot, and I get it. It was in Pittsburgh. You're not going to go into Mike Tomlin's home and throw him, just beat him up.
Well, everybody says that line about Tomlin. They always go 500 or better.
-2 was free money.
So we had a boost on Tipico. Big play 150. Use the code. You get $150 in free bets, and you get a free futures bet right now. So check it out. Tipico, big play 150 is your code. We have boost, and we'll do our own show boost, by the way. We're going to have that for Friday. I'm excited for that. But we had a boost here at Big Play. Browns score 10, Nick Chubb 50 yards, and the Steelers lose. Bro, I think it was plus 200 or plus 250.
Plus 250.
I cashed that. I cashed that bad boy for a nice little, and I used my bonus bet on it. Even better. It was free money. Steelers, I think it's a little fear of Monday Night Football. They're going to be getting pissed off, but we'll see. Pickett looked not great. Najee Harris got bottled up. 6 carries. And then the other thing was they just abandoned the run. They finished with 10 carries as a team. So if you want to just turn it over to Kenny Pickett, and we'll see. Plus, speaking of guys that get hurt, Deontay Johnson is now hurt again, and he's got a hamstring. He's going to miss some time. Steelers look like crap. 49ers, pretty good. Pretty good.
All righty. Washington defeats the Arizona Cardinals 20-16. Not a big surprise there. Arizona, a lot of people have them as the worst team in the league right now. Sam Howell looked okay. He went 19 for 31, 202 yards, a touchdown and a pick. And our boy Josh Dobbs, 21 for 30, 132 yards.
Yeah. Biggest thing on that story was that hit on Howell. Everybody freaked out about. Those teams suck.
Matt, what are your
what do you think? They suck. They're not good.
What are your expectations the rest of the season for Sam Howell and Eric Bieniemy?
Not a lot. I mean, that division is a 2-horse race right now. We know it's the Eagles. We know it's going to be the Cowboys. I think the biggest thing with the Commanders that I'm going to watch is if they're going to change their name again. I think they should. I really do. Has the Commanders has that really have you grabbed? And we're not Washington fans, but has that really grabbed on like they thought? And for those that don't know, the new owners of the Washington football team, they're debating if they're going to change the name again. I'd find something new. They're not good. They're not good.
Sean Payton and Russell Wilson fall in his coaching debut to the Raiders, 17-16. Jacoby Myers kind of came. He was a good player, but didn't expect him to put up a 9-reception, 81-yard, 2-touchdown stat line. Javonte Williams and Samaje Perine split in the backfield, and they looked okay. Russell Wilson actually didn't play bad, 177 yards and 2 touchdowns, but just not a ton of offense in that game. Josh Jacobs wasn't very efficient.
Yeah, I was going to say Jacobs was probably my big story. He didn't play well at all either.
But did you see that hit that Jacoby Myers took?
Yeah.
Did not look good.
No, it didn't. To the Broncos, they have no receiving threat. We felt that, Cortland Sutton, but Samaje Perine. Excuse me again. Samaje Perine, as a running back, had 37 yards as your leading receiver. Like, what? That's horrible. This year, I mean, I'm just going to call it for what it is. This year is going to be Russell Wilson will be out of there. They're going to go with Sean Payton. Like, they're always going to lean for Sean Payton, but even putting up those numbers, you can't beat the Raiders. Oh, this is great for TV. It's fantastic. You can't beat the Raiders putting up 17 points. The other story out of that was Jimmy Garoppolo. Apparently, everybody that questioned him in the organization, they said all of a sudden now he's a dog. Okay, great. He'll be hurt by week 5. Those teams, again, the 2 bottom feeders of that division, they're not good.
Probably the most exciting game in week 1, Miami and LA. 36-34, the Dolphins outduel the Chargers in an offensive battle. Tua goes for over 450 yards, and Tyreek Hill stakes his claim once again for possibly being the number 1 wide receiver in the league.
Get me that game in January in the playoffs. Like, that was a fun game. That's one of the reasons why I love how the NFL does their scheduling, where the best teams play each other and so that was a matchup because they both finished second in their division. Give me that all day long. Like, I love that game. A lot of fun to watch. You're talking offense. You know, it's also funny that Tua and Herbert will always kind of be connected, right? Because Miami decided to pick Tua. I said at the time I'd have taken Herbert. He got the deal, but there is a world, and there was part of that game that you watch and you go, okay, maybe I see what Miami saw in Tua. I'm not ready to put that out there. That was a fun-ass game. It was a lot of fun to watch. Both those teams will be in the playoffs. More of that, please.
Tyreek Hill is currently on pace for 3,655 yards.
He's a cheat code. I get it. Like, they move him around. He's just faster than everybody. He's a weapon, but don't forget he's battled injuries too. I don't know if he'll play all the games this year.
Alrighty, the Eagles outbattle New England after going up with a 16-0 lead. The Patriots and Mac Jones fought back, but lost eventually 25-20.
And a little maybe hangover for the Eagles because they got out to a 16-0 lead, and probably like everybody because we had to watch it on CBS because they didn't give us the Dolphins Chargers game for some reason. But I guess Philly, New England are close or whatever. Anyway, you get out to that 16-0 lead, and you're like, oh, here comes this game's over, right? And give credit to New England. They fought their way back. I think it was probably exactly what the Eagles needed. A little wake-up call. Super Bowl hangover was kind of there. But I do have questions with that offense. Now with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, but can they run the football? Are they going to be able to do it? Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott, they let Miles Sanders leave. You flip it over for New England, and they seem like kind of like, you know, to your point about Mac Jones, 3 touchdowns, which was nice. You just see that. How many years did Tom Brady probably mask the real issues that they have? They have, this is mean of me to say, they don't have any real talent on that team. Like Juju Smith-Schuster, did you see that report about his knee, by the way? It's apparently about to explode.
So
it's not good.
I saw that tweet as well, and I'm still trying to figure out if it was just a troll job.
No, like apparently doctors said like they're waiting for his knee to just like, and like, I don't want to think about a knee exploding, but still. Okay, Kendrick Bourne, I don't know. I look at the Patriots and I just go, do they have enough talent to win football games? They're trying this thing again too with Gesicki and Hunter Henry. They're trying to beat back what they have with Gronk and Aaron Hernandez. I don't know. I guess you don't count out Bill Belichick. It was a closer game than I thought, but I think it's mostly because the Eagles started letting up.
Already, Jordan Love continues the dominance of Green Bay over Chicago in Soldier Field, 38-20. Green Bay looked pretty solid on both sides of the ball. Justin Fields, 216 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. A little loose with the football running around, as he has had problems with that all last year as well. But Aaron Jones led the Packers in both rushing and receiving.
Yeah, Aaron Jones is a beast. So very good. They didn't have Christian Watson in that game, which I think hurt the Packers a little bit. Bears are going to Bears. Is that not like the Bears are going to bear? I feel bad for Justin Fields to a point, but the Bears might be cursed. They might legitimately just be cursed. I don't know. Even in a year, they have expectations like Justin Fields. Is it going to turn around? Were they not a team that people were trying to buy into? They were a team, this is going to be the year for them. This is going to be the year for them.
I was having this debate, the exact debate with my friends yesterday about people buying into the hype with Justin Fields and the Bears. And some people, were just buying the hype on Justin Fields himself, but a lot of people expected the Bears to be much, much better than they were last year.
I thought I was one. I really thought I was one. Okay, you get DJ Moore. I think Cole Kmet is going to be pretty good. DJ Moore had 2 targets in that game. Two. It's literally just Justin Fields trying to do everything himself. That's not a good way to win football games.
Alrighty, an upset here in week 1. The Rams in Seattle kind of dismantled them 30-13. Sean McVay gets some credit. Matthew Stafford didn't throw a touchdown, but 334 yards. And Geno Smith and the Seahawks offense, pretty underwhelming.
Well, that's another team that you start probably maybe they were counting their chickens maybe, or they were the team that everybody said, wow, look what they did last year. I was honestly never a real big believer in Geno Smith. It's easy when you have Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, and Jackson Smith and Jigba. Kenneth Walker was battling some injuries in preseason. I get all that. But were they exposed? I still think Seattle is the second best team in that division. But the Rams are an intriguing team. Cooper Kupp's on IR. Play that record over and over again. But they still have good players. Like, Matt Stafford's still a good quarterback, is he not? Yeah. So you combo that with Matt Stafford. with Sean McVay. I guess the Rams are one of these teams. File them away for me as I can't tell what the hell they are. I really have no idea. So they'll probably get an upset win here or there. I still am going to go with that Seattle will finish second in that division and somehow find their way in the playoffs. So,
how about Puka Nacua?
Yeah.
15 targets, 10 receptions, 119 yards in Cooper Kupp's absence.
Sean McVay, he's not quite the Andy Reid of the world or the Kyle Shanahan of the world that can just find like a random guy. But I think he's getting there. And McVay, with an offensive mind that he has, there's like even Cooper Kupp. Was he a 3rd-round pick, right? You find a guy and you go, I'm just going to turn this guy into a star. I guess that was it for Nacua for one game. And we'll see what they have in the future.
Already the last one on our week 1 slate before we wrap up the week on Monday tonight. And not much to talk about here. The Giants routed.
Wow.
I'm sorry. The Cowboys routed the Giants in New York 40-0. An absolute dominant display by the Cowboys defense. 2 touchdowns for them. Tony Pollard looked good. Also 2 touchdowns for him. And the Giants just looked like they had 0 answers on offense.
Daniel Jones got sacked 7 times. He was running for his life. I was just laughing the whole time because I not only grabbed on part of our boost, which didn't hit, okay? We had a boost on Tipico that Dak Prescott to throw 300 yards and for the Cowboys to win. That obviously didn't, unfortunately, happen with the 300 yards. But then, with our friends at Tipico, Big Play 150, use the code, I got an alternate spread. I took them at 5.5. I cleared it by 34.5 points.
Been sweating that one out.
Sweating that one, I'll tell you that much. But, dude, the Giants, file them again for Seattle, the Giants, the Bears. Who am I forgetting? The teams that cart before the horse teams. That's what we're going to call them, where people, oh, yeah, here we go. And they got smashed. I still think the Giants are going to be better. They're not going to the playoffs, and they will regret the Daniel Jones contract. That's a fact. That's it. That's our week 1 wrap-up here across the league. We will get our bets from Monday Night Football. We'll get those coming up a little bit later in the show. We'll dive back into some Browns as well. Our Twitter questions are up at Matt Fontana Show on Twitter. First up, did anything change for you after that game yesterday, watching the Browns play? Did your outlook on the season change at all? And then, do you believe that yesterday was the true debut of Deshaun Watson? I want to dive back into the Browns. We'll do that coming up, and we'll get into a little bit of time hop as well. Stay with us, Matt Fontana, right here, Big Play, iHeart app as well. As we do every day here on the show, a little bit of time hop where we head back this day in history. And of course, obviously today's a pretty big day in United States history. We'll get to that. But we call it time hop. We go through I got a movie and a TV show for you today, Ryan. But the TV show, I don't know how I'm going to describe it, to be honest with you, because I've never really watched it. So we'll get to that. We got birthdays, and of course, we kick off with a little bit of Browns. In this day, 2020, just 1 year ago, season opener, Cade York hits a 58-yard field goal for the Browns to beat the Panthers 28-26. Cade York's 58-yard field goal was the longest made field goal by a rookie kicker in their team's first game. We beat Baker Mayfield. Kareem Hunt had 2 touchdowns in that game. Nick Chubb had 141 yards rushing. And, of course, Jacoby Brissett filling in for Deshaun Watson in that game. I mean, so much of it was Baker. So much of that was Baker this, Baker that. But we walked out of that game thinking Cade York was going to be our kicker of the future. And here we are 1 year later. He's not even on the team, which is insane.
A lot can happen in 365 days, Matt.
That it can. And, of course, the Browns won their season opener back-to-back for the first time. Oh, man, I saw the stat. So I know this, that I'll pull it up. Shout out to Jake Trotter of ESPN. I saw it. Jake had one, too. That the Browns' 20-point home opener or 20-point season opening win was like the first time since 1988. And they won the division that year, by the way. The last time the Browns won a season opener by 20 points, they also they won their last division title in 1989. But the Browns also won their back-to-back season openers for the first time since like the mid-90s on that. So well done. 1 year ago today, beating the Panthers. This day, 2016, the Browns season opener, they fall to the Eagles. 29-10. Carson Wentz got the win. RG3 was 12 out of 26 for 190 yards, 1 interception, and was sacked 3 times. Of course, Ryan, in 2016, that would be the first of 15 losses for the Browns that season. This day, 2016. This day, 1985, Pete Rose hit his 4,192nd hit and surpassed Ty Cobb for the most in baseball history. This day, 1941, construction of the Pentagon began. Have you ever seen the Pentagon? It's massive. No matter how big you think it is, it's bigger than you think it is.
I've not seen it in person, no.
Driven past it. It's massive. Okay, movies and TV shows. Ready for this? I have a movie for you. This day, 1998.
Let's do it. I had a pretty good run on Friday, so I'm going to try and keep it up.
You did 3 for 3. Okay. It's a movie about 2 poker players, and one of them is a superhero. It's a horrible description. It's how we do it here on the show in Time Hop.
Okay, so one's a superhero. That's kind of throwing me. Is it? You're not talking about Rain Man, are you?
No, good guess. No.
2 poker players.
So I will tell you that, like, not actually in this movie. It's an actor who is a superhero in another movie. Is my horrible description of this. So he's not an actual superhero in this movie, but your hint is one of the actors plays a superhero.
2 poker players. And one of them is a superhero. I want to get this now.
All right.
I'm like going through, all the superheroes I know.
The other main character in this movie is also in another very famous gambling movie. Or gambling series, I should say.
Okay. How about this? Tell me this. Is the superhero that they play, is it Marvel or DC?
He's Marvel.
He's Marvel.
All right, your big hint is he doesn't even play that superhero anymore. He got replaced.
So is he got replaced, meaning, so is it like Chris Evans?
No.
Wow, I'm struggling on this.
Edward Norton.
Oh, my God.
Matt Damon in Rounders. Rounders, this day, 1998.
Edward Norton's Hulk, underrated.
Hulk, very good.
Underrated.
I know, very good. And then obviously Matt Damon in Ocean's 11, 12, and 13 is the other one. I try to think because like there's not like as far as poker movies, like Ocean's 11 is like a heist.
Right.
Like Rounders is pretty much, for me, that's the only poker movie that I can think of. Like 21 is a blackjack thing, and like there's 21. Other gambling, but Rounders.
Good one. That's a good
this
one.
day,
That's
1998. And I don't know how I'm going to describe this, so I'm just going to tell you. This day, 1967, the Carol Burnett Show debuted.
Wouldn't have gotten that one.
I would not have gotten that. Very happy birthday goes out to legendary coach Paul Bear Bryant, Ed Sable of NFL Films, Tom Landry, former Indians Ellis Burks, and Eduardo Perez celebrating a birthday today. One of the biggest thorns in Browns football history ever, Ed Reed celebrating a birthday today. Former Cavalier Sean Livingston, Ludacris, Harry Connick Jr., and Paul Heyman all celebrating birthdays today. And of course, folks, today we bring up Remembrance Day. And I think we all can look back on 2001 of where we were at, what we remember, and just how the world changed that day and the lives that were lost. And I know this is a day that a lot of people bring up the stories, Wells Crowther, and just all the people that they ran towards it to try to help save people, and the fire and the police that, again, the 343 that were all there. Just a day that, if you were of an age, and I was in the 7th grade, like, you remember where you're at. I'll never forget, I was in science class, and our teacher pulled us out of our classroom because we didn't have a TV, and brought us into another classroom just in time to see the second plane. And she got in a lot of trouble for that because we weren't supposed to leave our classroom. And she said, this is something that these kids will deal with or have to talk about or think about the rest of their lives. They needed to see that and see how the world completely changed that day, the lives that were lost. And it's one of those things, like last night, watching the Giants play, and I'm sure we'll get a lot of it tonight with the Jets playing too, to see Mike McCarthy and Brian Dable, wearing fire and NYPD and FDNY hats. I mean, it's just so powerful. I think for all of us that lived through it, that were part of it, certainly more people that were impacted more than others. It brought us together in an unfortunate way with our country, and it's a sad day. It really is, on Remembrance Day here on 9/11. All right, when we come back, we do have a Monday Night Football game tonight, so I want to get our bets in for that on Tipico, and then I also want to update our Twitter questions and put a bow. Victory Monday's just kicking off, folks. We got plenty coming up right here on Big Play. Put a bow here on this show, and we'll do it next. Well, wrapping up our first Victory Monday here on the show. Don't forget, Chico, 12 o'clock coming up. iHeart app, YouTube page. We're all there. Big play. It's been awesome. That game yesterday was just so much fun to see. You beat the Bengals, which are great. You are leading the division, which is great. And I think today, obviously, is one of those, you enjoy it, but know that there's still challenges to be had coming up with Pittsburgh next week. So I know the team's enjoying it. I think the biggest thing right now, Ryan, as we sit here, welcome back, Matt Fontana Show, Big Play. iHeart, YouTube, Twitter, all there. The news on Jack Conklin. I think we're all just assuming and kind of preparing that he is going to be out for the rest of the season with, unfortunately, a knee injury. Their guess probably ACL. We'll see. That obviously is going to thrust Juwan Jones into a starting role. And there will be development there. Don't forget that there's going to probably be a step back here or there. There's going to be continued development with Juwan Jones, so we'll see with that. But really, you look back on the game, you try to take the positives. There were some negatives, but really overall, when you beat an opponent that is in your division, a team that was in the Super Bowl a couple years ago, you beat them 24-3. I don't care what the rain was or what it wasn't even that bad. It was also only raining over the stadium. People saw that radar. I live in West Park. I live 10 minutes west of the stadium. It wasn't raining. It was not raining at my house, so I don't understand how there was one pocket of rain and it just happened to be over the stadium. I don't know how that worked.
Jimmy Haslam paid the clouds.
Put the dome. There were people that watched that game and then wanted a dome put in. We've been through negative 15-degree snowstorms, and that game yesterday was the one you want to put the dome on? No, Browns played well. They did enough to get a win. I know there's some things to clean up, but there's also a lot to gain. There's a lot to really jump off of. That defense was it. I think at the end of the day, the happiest thing that I can say about this team from yesterday's game was the defense. I was so impressed with how they played. It seemed so easy. It seemed so simple, which what you wanted it to be. You wanted it to be that for this team. And whatever complex things they were trying to do last year seems to be out the window. Seems to be right where the Browns need to be defensively. And just know that you got better players. You have really good players. And you need to go out there and play that way. One of our Twitter questions is up at ESPN Cleveland. Did yesterday's performance change your outlook on the season for the Browns? 60-40 people said yes. And I said no, just because I already had a high expectation for this team. I had them in a double-digit win total anyway. And that furthered that. Because I'm not qualifying yesterday as a game that you won that you shouldn't have. Because I got this thing about the NFL season. You're going to win a game that you weren't supposed to win. You're going to lose a game that you're not supposed to win. Or supposed to lose, excuse me. And the Browns, obviously, there'll be a game that you're going to fumble. There's going to be a game against an inferior opponent, and you stink it up, and it is what it is. I don't look at yesterday's game as a game that you should have lost that you just magically won. You took it to them, and you got to win. And I think you put them on notice. I was reading this morning for Bill Barnwell of ESPN, and he was kind of recapping the Cincinnati Browns game to say, is this something about, did this put it on alert? Did the Browns all of a sudden put themselves on alert or make everybody take notice? Or kind of maybe the bigger story, is Cincinnati in a lot of trouble? And I don't think any of those statements are true. I don't think Cincinnati's in trouble. I think it was a game that they just didn't play well. Joe Burrow didn't play in the preseason. Kind of made some comments about it in postgame that maybe that was it. Wouldn't say it was. Had the calf injury, fine. They had to fight through some things, and they lost. And then conversely, I'm not ready to sit here and say that the Browns just kicked the door in on the NFL, and now everybody's going, wow, the Browns are pretty good. Everybody knew that. Everybody knew that they should be better. You got to show it. They did that, and you got out of there with a nice win. I'm not putting too much or too little stock into yesterday's game. They got a win. I'm happy they beat the Bengals. Victory Monday today is always a lot sweeter. And we'll start the show tomorrow, and I'm already going to start looking over to the Steelers. Well, not necessarily, because I do have a 2 for Tuesday tomorrow. Debut, by the way, of 2 for Tuesday in this platform for the show, where we always have 2 questions, 2 answers. So the first one's always sports-related. The second one is sports-related in a way. It's a sports movie question. I've been sitting on this one for a little while, so we'll get to that tomorrow, 9 a.m. Every morning right here on Big Play. But that's for tomorrow. So, yeah, eventually we're going to start turning towards the Steelers, or we're going to start charting our attention towards kind of where we're going to be for next week. But we can enjoy this for today. And I know the Browns are, and as they should. And the one thing, and I had some people kind of mention this to me yesterday, that the team needed this because it really felt like everything else was behind them. like there was still some lingering, I think, of the Deshaun Watson situation and the suspension and this and that. There was the lingering of the Cade York thing. There was just all this stuff where you finally got out there to go play a game, to get in the flow of things, to get into the season and be ready to go for this long haul. It was one game. One game, an important win, but you got a lot more to go, and you got a long season to go. It's almost the next step too. Like I'm not wishing away yesterday, but I'm ready to go, right? I'm ready to go. Like yesterday was great to give the team the confidence they needed, but also I think the fan base needed a little confidence too.
Yeah, and you know what was really cool about yesterday is if you guys didn't get a chance to check out the big play game day that we held down here with the stage at Burke.
Burying the lead. Greg Williams has to come. Folks, we had Greg Williams. Like, come get some. I got a lozenge guy.
He called his shot on Jim Schwartz. You know, he's
loved him.
He knows Jim Schwartz pretty closely. He's worked with him in the past. And he called it and said, Jim Schwartz is going to have these guys come out, hair on fire, spread them out wide, and they're gonna cause havoc on Burrow and the Bengals, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, and the same thing. I mean, there are teams that want to be able to make their statements. If the Cowboys made their statement, if this and that, week one is always you get some flukes, you get some upsets, but that is something that I think travels. You know, you're the old saying, defense travels, right? What I saw with that defense yesterday, no matter what, Myles Garrett standing up. Did you see the clip of him dribbling the basketball? By the way, he's standing over the center. Dribbling a fake basketball. He didn't have a real basketball on the field. Dribbling a basketball, and then ball is snapped, and he's almost in Joe Burrow's face. Like, that is the stuff with this defense where you see what they do with this D-line. That's it. We'll see that next week. We'll see that in Pittsburgh. We'll see that against Baltimore. We'll see that against all the rest of these teams. Like, this defense that you see is just a step forward. Now, granted, they could take a step back, but I think their launching off point is the best part of that game. Like, the best part of that game yesterday, no question about, is the defense. And they deserve a lot of credit for how they played because they played extremely well. Jim Schwartz there, players, yes, right position, all of it. And if this needs to be a team, because this is also another shift that I'm not trying to put too much on this, right? But if this needs to be a defensive-led team, which is different than how the NFL does it and not quite the sexy thing to be, if this needs to be a team where the defensive unit is better to go win football games, so be it. There's a world that is true. There's a world that if you divide it up and you look at this side and that side, you could make a case from day to day that the defense could be better. Now, the offense is what needs to be, I think, in the NFL for you to have true success, but the defense can be there, and if they got to win you some games from time to time, so be it. Ohio State, well done. Youngstown State covered. Thank you. Tipico, big play 150. We got to get our bet for tonight. They played Devin Brown. It's still Kyle McCord's job. I think really what Ryan Day is probably trying to do is not let Devin Brown transfer. I don't know. Did Devin Brown go in that game? I don't know. We don't talk a lot of Buckeyes on here, but it was a nice win against Youngstown State. You give the Penguins credit. I mean, at least they showed up a little bit to start that game. I had some people that were a little nervous, and I go, it's Youngstown State. Calm down. It's not that big of a deal. Don't worry about it. But they got the win. Obviously, Youngstown State covered. Well done on that. Let's get our bets for this evening, shall we? So we have Buffalo and the Jets. The debut of Aaron Rodgers. By the way, how bad did that Giants field look last night? Because the Jets are at home tonight, so I don't think they could roll out the turf. Those logos looked like crap. Because I think just didn't play well, and the Jets are the most up-and-coming team of all the up-and-coming teams. Like, everybody's saying, oh, my God, Aaron Rodgers this, and oh, my God, this, and oh, my God, they got Dalvin Cook. I think the moment will be a little too big for them. I think being at home is going to hurt, and I don't walk it back on how I feel about Buffalo. I still think that this is going to be a really hard year for Buffalo, and there's going to be a lot of questions on them. But I will take them to cover that -2, and I will do that with our friends at Tipico. Again, sign up today, Tipico, download the app, and use the code BIGPLAY150 to get your bonus bets there. Over-under is set an interesting 45.5, with 63% of the bet of the handle, I should say, is on the under. Dude, 92%, Ryan, of the handle is on the Jets to cover, +2.5. 92% of the bets.
I'm going with a parlay today.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a close one, and I do like your point. I didn't think about that. The up and coming teams, yes, they've been struggling. However, I do think Aaron Rodgers is going to get it done today in his debut. I have Jets money line actually.
Okay, all right.
Paired with Garrett Wilson touchdown.
Oh,
I think the Garrett Wilson touchdown, in my opinion, obviously no touchdown is ever a lock, but if anybody's going to score today, I do think it's Garrett Wilson, and I think Aaron Rodgers is going to give the Bills secondary a little bit of trouble. And I like Aaron in this one tonight.
I think it's interesting that 92% of the spread money, as I mentioned, is on the Jets, plus that 2.5. But on the money line, 59% of that handle is on the Bills. So it's like, obviously that's the thing to do. If you're going to take, really, I think with a 2-point spread, you're better off just taking the money line anyway. So go ahead and do that. To your point, though, I like it because I think if the Jets are going to win, Garrett Wilson's going to have to get into the end zone. And I'm talking back bad. I'm back bad there on the Bills because I was crapping on them, but I'll get them covered tonight. Enjoy the game tonight, folks.
I'm excited, Matt.
It's going to be a fun game. I think it's going to be a fun game. Hell of a victory Monday to kick things off. Browns are undefeated since we started the show. They're going to keep that record going. Don't forget that. Don't go anywhere. Coming up at noon. So in 1 hour, Chico will be live in here, continuing Victory Monday right here on Big Play. I appreciate everybody joining us this morning for a little bit. Get the replay back on YouTube. Go check it out on Twitter at Matt Fontana Show. Drop us a subscribe and a follow there. And don't forget about the brand new iHeart app. You can stream us there as well. Enjoy Victory Monday. We'll talk to you tomorrow. And as always, take it easy.